We have long expressed our disappointment at the repeated effort by Congress to impede the closing of the prison at Guantanamo Bay. What the president does believe, though, is that there are a number of provisions in the NDAA that are important to running and protecting the country. And so that's why I would expect that you would see the president sign the NDAA when it comes to his desk, whenever it comes to his desk. But that certainly does not reflect a change in our position or the intensity of our position about the need to close the prison at Guantanamo Bay and the need for Congress to actually cooperate with us in doing so.
You just said that the president will not veto the NDAA despite the provisions on Guantanamo. Does that effectively mean that once the plan that you and the Pentagon are preparing and about to send to Congress will be essentially dead on arrival?
No, I wouldn't expect that at all. I mean, the fact is the inclusion of these provisions in the NDAA is an unfortunate perpetuation of the status quo. So I don't think this has any material impact on our ability to put together and send to Congress a thoughtful, carefully considered plan for closing the prison at Guantanamo Bay, and a plan that we believe merits the strong support of both Democrats and Republicans in the Congress. That will, however, require Democrats and Republicans in the Congress to put the national interest ahead of their much more narrow and, in comparison, trivial political interest.
That plan relies on the ability to transfer prisoners out of Guantanamo. And,
sure it does.
And this, because of this, which the president is not going to veto, that is prohibited by law.
Well, again, Jeff, we've had these obstacles, legislative obstacles, to our efforts to close the prison at Guantanamo Bay in place for some time. And what we have sought is congressional cooperation to remove those obstacles so we could move forward in a reasonable way consistent with our national security interests.
Upon the president's signature, does that in any way impact those detainees who have already been approved for transfer?
No, it doesn't. My understanding is that the legislation, or the Gitmo legislation that is included in this version of the NDAA is quite similar to the language that's been included in previous NDAAs. And so while it would make certain parts of that process a little more cumbersome than they otherwise would need to be, it shouldn't affect our ability to continue to transfer those individuals that have been approved for transfer. And those approvals are given once a diplomatic agreement has been reached with another country in which they've agreed to accept one of those transfers. It also requires the Secretary of Defense to certify that sufficient steps have been taken to mitigate the risk that that individual would pose to U.S. national security down the line.